information about the unit. Case study can be used to study not only individuals, but organizations, institutions, events, and so on. Often multiple methods of data collection including interview and observation are used in case study to collect information about the unit. In psychology, case study is frequently used in varied setups including clinical setup, research, and so on. Case study can be termed as exploratory in nature where in-depth data is collected from the unit participant using multiple methods of data collection. With the help of case study method, it is possible to gather relevant and large amount of data about the unit. And based on this information certain hypothesis, S, can be formulated for further research. Also certain unique cases, events, phenomenon and so on can be thoroughly studied with the help of this method. Most frequently used methods of data collection in case study include interviews, observation, referring to letters, notes and diaries of the participant and any other related documents. It is mainly a qualitative approach and the data obtained by the researcher is qualitatively analyzed. When a case study is used in a research, it is important to first of all identify the focus of research, which in turn will guide the way the case, unit, event, phenomenon, etc., is to be studied by the researcher. In this regard, suitable research questions can be formulated so that there is clarity in the problem and objectives of the study. Also, it is important to review the literature in this regard so that the researcher has adequate background knowledge, though this is true with any research. The case study is necessarily complex as any unit will have numerous dimensions like personal, social, economical, political, and so on. Once the focus of the case study is clear, then the methods of data collection can be finalized. As stated earlier, varied methods of data collection can be used in case study. But which methods are to be used will depend on the research questions and the research problem and objectives. The researcher will also need to decide about whether a single case will be taken or a small sample. This again will be determined by the research problem and objectives. Once the data is collected, the researcher can start organizing and analyzing it, and while doing so the research questions and focus need to be kept in mind. Otherwise, the main focus of the research can get lost in the large and in-depth amount of information gathered with the help of case study. Once the data is analyzed, the researcher can then focus on preparation of report with interpretations, evidence, and conclusions. Thus, case study method can be effectively used in order to study certain units, events, phenomena, etc. 5.4.1 Characteristics of case study. Some of the significant features of case study method are: a single unit or a small sample is studied under case study. It is in-depth, thorough, and comprehensive study of the unit, be it an individual, event, organization, institution, etc. It can be termed as a direct approach. 90. Quantitative and qualitative research. Case study also focuses on reciprocal interrelationship of the variables and factors. It can be termed as an exploratory and descriptive in the way the information obtained about the unit is analyzed. The unit that is studied is perceived as a whole. The unit is studied from various perspectives. Multiple methods of data collection are used to study the unit. The unit that is selected for study is often studied for a long period of time, though in certain cases a limited time period is specified, using varied methods so as to obtain necessary information that will enable researcher to make interpretations and draw conclusions. 5.4.2 Advantages of case study. 1. It can be effectively used to not only develop a new theory but also challenge or modify an existing theory. 2. In-depth and exhaustive information about the unit can be collected. 3. It provides idea for further research. 4. Certain unique cases, events and phenomenon can be studied in detail with help of this method. 5. The information collected can not only be used to formulate certain hypothesis, S, but it can also be used in order to develop schedules and questionnaires. 6. It is possible to use multiple methods of data collection as per the need of the situation. 5.4.3 Limitations of case study. 1. The results obtained cannot be generalized. 2. It is time-consuming and also certain level of expertise and skills are required on part of the researcher. It is also not cost-effective. 3. Subjectivity can creep in during interpretation of data. 4. Replication may not be possible. 5. It is possible that the participant may provide responses the way it is sought. In the present unit we discussed about the three main methods, namely, observation, interview and case study. Observation can be described as a process of data collection in which the units, events, phenomena, individuals are witnessed firsthand. There are two modes with regard to observation. One is where we directly observe persons as they behave or events, for example, employees working in this work setup. And the other is where we seek information from persons about their or others' behavior by asking questions. For example, parent can be asked about their child's behavior at home. Observation can be carried out either in a naturalistic setup or it can be carried out in a laboratory or a clinical setup. While carrying out observation, various aids like checklist, rating scales, video recordings, one-way mirror and so on can also be used. The types of observation, including participant observation, non-participant observation, structured observation and unstructured observation were also discussed in the present unit, besides the advantages and limitations of observation. The next method discussed was interview, which is one of the most commonly used methods of data collection. It can be described as a face-to-face interpersonal role situation in which one person, the interviewer, asks a person being interviewed, the respondent, questions designed to obtain answers pertinent to research problem. One of the main aspects of the interview is the interview schedule. Interview schedule is nothing but questions that the interviewer has to ask as well as certain guidelines with regard to how the interviewer is expected to proceed with the interview. Preparing an interview schedule is a challenge and a lot of planning and work is required. An interview schedule will mainly constitute identification information or face sheet, census type information and problem information. Further, the types of interview, viz. Structured, unstructured and semi-structured were also discussed. The advantages and limitations of this methods were also highlighted. The last method discussed was that of case study. Case study can be described as an approach that helps in obtaining information about the unit from varied perspectives. Case study thus helps obtain in-depth information about the unit. Case study can be used to study not only individuals, but organizations, institutions, events and so on. When a case study is used in a research, it is important to first of all identify the focus of research, which in turn will guide the way the case, unit, event, phenomenon, etc., is to be studied by the researcher. In the context of the case study, its characteristics, advantages and limitations were discussed. TESTING 6. Structure 6.0 Objectives 6.1 Introduction 6.2 Psychological Testing.